June 5, 1944. Eisenhower holds a small piece of paper in his trembling hands. On it, two words that will decide the fate of the world: go or stop. 156,000 men are waiting. 5,000 ships are ready. 11,000 aircraft engines are roaring. But the weather is terrible. The seas are violent. His meteorologists say it's suicide. One wrong decision and the war is lost. Hitler wins. Democracy dies. The world falls into darkness. Eisenhower closes his eyes, takes a breath, and writes one word that will change everything. This is D-Day, the day 160,000 men sailed into hell to save the world. It's 4 a.m., June 5th, 1944, Southwick House, Portsmouth, England. In a cold, smoke-filled room, the most powerful men in the Allied world are staring at one man, General Dwight Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of the Allied forces. Outside, the wind is howling. Rain hammers against the windows. The English Channel is a furious gray monster. And Eisenhower has to make the most terrifying decision in military history. Should he launch the largest amphibious invasion ever attempted into a storm, or wait and risk losing the element of surprise forever? His chief meteorologist, Group Captain Stagg, has just given him the weather report, and it's devastating. The storm will continue, Stagg says. High winds, low clouds, rough seas. Translation: sending men across the channel now is sending them to their deaths. But waiting, that's just as deadly. The tides, the moon, the coordination of 156,000 troops, everything is aligned for one window, June 5th to 7th. Miss it, and the invasion is delayed for weeks, maybe months. And in that time, Hitler reinforces Normandy. The Germans discover the plan. The entire operation collapses. Eisenhower looks around the room. Churchill is there, Montgomery, the admirals, the generals, all of them waiting for his decision. And then Stagg says something that changes everything. There might be a break in the weather. 36 hours starting tomorrow morning. Might, not will, might. Eisenhower stands up, walks to the window, stares into the darkness, and then he says 5 words that will echo through history. Okay, let's go. You just witnessed one of the most pivotal moments in human history. But D-Day, that's just the beginning. At ProjectX, we don't just tell you what happened, we show you why it happened. The decisions, the mistakes, the moments that could have changed everything. Every single week, we drop a new deep dive into epic battles that rewrote maps, unsolved mysteries that still haunt us, conspiracies that turned out to be true. This isn't your high school history class. This is history unfiltered. So if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe, smash that notification bell, join the ProjectX crew. Because trust me, the next story, it's going to blow your mind. I'll see you there. But here's what most people don't know about D-Day. It almost didn't happen in Normandy at all. Because the Germans were waiting for the invasion. They knew it was coming. The question was, where? And the Allies pulled off the most brilliant deception in military history to fool them. It was called Operation Fortitude. The plan: make Hitler believe the invasion would hit Calais, the closest point to England, just 21 miles across the Channel. So the Allies created a fake army. They built inflatable tanks, rubber aircraft, wooden ships, entire fake military bases in southeast England, complete with fake radio traffic, fake soldiers, and even fake laundry hanging on fake clotheslines. They put General George Patton, who the Germans believed was America's best general, in command of this phantom force. German reconnaissance planes flew over, took photos, saw exactly what the Allies wanted them to see: a massive army preparing to strike Calais. And the deception worked. Even after the landings began on June 6th, Hitler refused to send reinforcements to Normandy. He was convinced for weeks that Normandy was just a diversion. The real invasion, he believed, was still coming at Calais. That hesitation, that refusal to commit his panzer divisions, it saved thousands of Allied lives.
June 5th, Phase 11, p.m. While the invasion fleet is still crossing the Channel, the first Allied soldiers are already over France. They're airborne troops, paratroopers and glider infantry, and their mission is to secure the flanks of the beach landings. On the eastern flank, the British 6th Airborne Division has one critical objective: capture the bridges over the Caen Canal and Orne River before the Germans can blow them up. On the western flank, the American 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions must secure the roads behind Utah Beach and prevent German reinforcements from reaching the coast. It sounds simple on paper. In reality, it's chaos. The transport planes, Douglas C-47s, are flying through thick clouds, anti-aircraft fire, and total darkness. Pilots can't see their drop zones. Navigation is nearly impossible. As a result, paratroopers are scattered across miles of French countryside. Some land in flooded fields and drown, weighed down by their equipment. Others land in trees, on rooftops, in German positions. Entire units are lost, separated, confused. Private John Steele of the 82nd Airborne lands on the church steeple in Sainte-Mère-Église. His parachute catches on the spire. He hangs there, playing dead, as German soldiers shoot other paratroopers in the streets below. He survives. Many don't. But despite the chaos, or maybe because of it, the airborne assault achieves something unexpected. It creates total confusion among the Germans. Reports flood in from all over Normandy, paratroopers here, gliders there, sabotage everywhere. The Germans can't tell where the real attack is coming from. And that confusion buys precious time for the men crossing the Channel.
June 6th, 2 a.m. The largest naval fleet ever assembled is crossing the English Channel. 5,000 ships, from tiny landing craft to massive battleships. They've been loading since the previous evening. Troops crammed into transport ships, tanks chained to the decks, supplies stacked to the ceilings. The men are seasick, terrified. Many are writing last letters home. They don't know where they're going. They don't know if they'll survive the next 24 hours. All they know is this is it, the moment they've been training for. American soldiers carry 70 pounds of equipment: rifle, ammunition, rations, grenades, explosives. British troops carry even more. Some men carry small Bibles, photographs of sweethearts, lucky charms, anything to hold on to in the darkness. At 3 a.m., the fleet crosses into French waters. At 5 a.m., the naval bombardment begins. 7 battleships, 23 cruisers, hundreds of destroyers. The roar is deafening. The night sky lights up with fire. Thousands of tons of shells rain down on the German defenses, bunkers, gun positions, strong points along the coast. It's supposed to obliterate the defenders, soften them up, make the landings easier. But here's the problem. Much of it misses. The clouds are too thick, visibility is terrible. Many shells land too far inland, hitting empty fields instead of German positions. And on Omaha Beach, the deadliest of the 5 landing zones, most of the German bunkers survive the bombardment completely intact, which means the men landing there are walking.
6:30 a.m. The first wave hits Juno Beach. This is the westernmost landing zone, and it's supposed to be one of the most heavily defended. But something goes wrong. A strong current pushes the landing craft 1,800 meters south of the intended target. The officers panic. This is the wrong beach. They've landed in the wrong place. But then they realize something incredible. This wrong beach is barely defended. Only 2 German battalions, light resistance, minimal casualties. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr., son of President Teddy Roosevelt and the oldest man in the invasion at 56 years old, lands with the first wave. He's supposed to be back at headquarters, but he demanded to land with his men. Now, standing on the beach, he makes a split-second decision. We'll start the war from right here. Instead of trying to reach the original landing zone, he orders the entire invasion force to land at this new location. It's a brilliant call. By the end of the day, 23,000 American troops have landed at Juno Beach. Casualties? Only 197. It's the most successful landing of D-Day, and it happened by accident. But 16 kilometers to the east, a very different story is unfolding. Omaha Beach. The Americans call it Bloody Omaha. The Germans call it the Shooting Gallery. And for the men of the U.S. 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions, it's absolute hell. The plan was simple. Amphibious tanks, swimming tanks, would land first and provide cover fire while the infantry stormed ashore. But the tanks are launched too far offshore. The seas are too rough. 27 out of 29 tanks sink. The men drown inside. Now the infantry is landing with no cover. The landing ramps drop. Machine gun fire shreds the first rows of soldiers before they even reach the water. Men jump into the sea, 6 feet deep, weighed down with equipment. Many drown immediately. Those who reach the beach find themselves in a kill zone. The Germans are firing from concrete bunkers on the cliffs above. They have a perfect view of the entire beach. Bullets tear through the sand. Mortar shells explode everywhere. Bodies pile up at the waterline. Medics try to help the wounded. They're shot. Officers try to rally the men. They're killed. For 2 hours, the entire invasion at Omaha teeters on the edge of total failure. Some officers on the ships offshore consider calling a retreat. But then something changes.
Small groups of soldiers, too terrified to stay on the beach, too brave to retreat, start moving forward. They crawl, they run, they use craters as cover. Slowly, painfully, they inch their way up the bluffs. Bangalore torpedoes blow holes in the barbed wire. Engineers blast paths through the minefields. By mid-morning, tiny footholds are established. By afternoon, the beachhead is secure. But the cost? By the end of D-Day, 2,400 American soldiers are dead or wounded on Omaha Beach alone, more than all the other beaches combined. While the Americans fight at Utah and Omaha, British and Canadian forces are hitting 3 beaches to the east: Gold, Juno, and Sword. Their mission? Capture the town of Caen and link up with the airborne forces holding the bridges. At Gold Beach, the British 50th Division lands under heavy fire but pushes inland quickly. Specialized tanks, called Hobart's Funnies, clear mines and obstacles. By evening, they've advanced 6 kilometers. At Juno Beach, the Canadian 3rd Division faces brutal resistance. The naval bombardment started late. German bunkers are still operational. But the Canadians fight with ferocity. By nightfall, they've penetrated deeper inland than any other Allied force. At Sword Beach, British commandos have a specific mission: link up with the 6th Airborne holding Pegasus Bridge. Lord Lovett's commandos land and immediately march inland, led by his personal bagpiper playing Highland Laddie under fire. They reach the bridge by early afternoon. The link-up is complete. But the British failed to capture Caen on D-Day. German Panzer divisions arrived faster than expected. Caen won't fall for another month. It becomes one of the bloodiest battles of the entire Normandy campaign. So where are the Germans during all this? Why isn't the Wehrmacht crushing the landings while the Allies are most vulnerable? The answer is a combination of confusion, bad decisions, and Hitler himself. Field Marshal Rommel, commander of German forces in Normandy, isn't even there. He's gone home to Germany for his wife's birthday, convinced the weather is too bad for an invasion. When reports come in of paratroopers landing, German commanders think it's a small raid, not the main invasion. When the beach landings begin, many officers still think it's a diversion. They're waiting for the real invasion at Calais. And the Panzer divisions, the armored reserves that could have thrown the Allies back into the sea, Hitler has personally forbidden them from moving without his direct order. And Hitler is asleep. His staff is too terrified to wake him. By the time he wakes up and gives permission to move the Panzers, it's mid-afternoon. Too late. The Allies have 156,000 men ashore. The beachheads are secure. The window to destroy the invasion has closed. By midnight on June 6, 1944, the Allies have done the impossible. They've landed 156,000 troops on 5 beaches across 80 kilometers of the Normandy coast. They've secured a foothold in Nazi-occupied Europe. They've begun the liberation of France. But the cost is staggering. 4,414 Allied soldiers confirmed dead on D-Day. Thousands more wounded or missing. Entire units wiped out. Families back home receiving telegrams that will shatter them. But here's the truth that's often forgotten. D-Day wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. The Battle of Normandy would rage for 77 more days. By the time the Allies broke out of Normandy in August, 425,000 soldiers, Allied and German, would be dead, wounded, or missing. But D-Day made it all possible. Without June 6th, there is no liberation of Paris, no liberation of Belgium, Holland, Denmark, Norway, no march into Germany, no end to the Holocaust, no victory in Europe. Eisenhower knew this when he made his decision on June 5th. That's why before the invasion, he wrote a speech to be read in case of failure. Our landings have failed. The troops have been withdrawn. My decision to attack at this time and place was based upon the best information available. If any blame or fault attaches to the attempt, it is mine alone. He never had to read it. Because 160,000 men, most of them teenagers who'd never seen combat, sailed into hell and won. Not because they were fearless, but because they were more afraid of letting tyranny win. That's the real story of D-Day. Not just a military victory, but a testament to what ordinary people can do when freedom is on the line. You just witnessed one of the most pivotal moments in human history. But D-Day, that's just the beginning. At ProjectX, we don't just tell you what happened, we show you why it happened. The decisions, the mistakes, the moments that could have changed everything. Every single week, we drop a new deep dive into epic battles that rewrote maps, unsolved mysteries that still haunt us, conspiracies that turned out to be true. This isn't your high school history class. This is history unfiltered. So if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe, smash that notification bell, join the ProjectX crew. Because trust me, the next story, it's going to blow your mind. I'll see you there.